Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday, time to check out some new releases that are coming out this Friday, June 27th. It's about 450 albums coming out this week. I got a ton on my list for today. There's a bunch of links down below. You got links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that I put together every week, and the Patreon page. So make sure you check all that out. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. Like I said in the intro, there's about 450 albums that are coming out this week, but I'm only going to talk about 10 of them today. So if there's something you're looking forward to that I'll have on here, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to grabbing this week. And like always, if you're unable to find these in your local brick and mortar stores, they should all be available online. I'll put links down below in the comment section for them. You can also always go over to the Vinyl Den store on Amazon. All the pre-orders are on there, new releases, there's deals on records, all sorts of cool stuff to check out. So I'm really intrigued by this new Bruce Springsteen release that's coming out this week. This is Tracks 2, The Lost Albums. So there's a 9 LP version of this that's going to run you about $350. And then there's a 2 LP compilation version of it. It's going to run you about $40. So what this is a compilation of 7 completely unreleased albums from Bruce Springsteen. All these were recorded between 83 and 2018. And this isn't just like a collection of songs. These are fully formed albums. A few of these albums had gotten to the point where they were even mixed before getting shelved. The big 9 LP box set has 82 unreleased tracks on there, and then the 2 LP version, like I said, it's like a compilation version of the bigger box set. There's 20 tracks on that one. All these were recorded in his home studio over the 35-year time span. And there's a lot of different influences in these albums. There's a lot of different musical directions he takes on here. Like I said, I'm really interested in checking this one out. Late 80s and I guess really kind of through the 90s also. Bruce's music was a little more hit or miss for me. And that's why I'm really intrigued by it. I want to listen to this. I'm not going to pre-order it. The big 9 LP box set is just way out of my price range. But I'll stream it this week. If I like it, maybe I'll grab that 2 LP version. Then you've also got the White Stripes, Get Behind Me Satan, getting reissued. It's come out back in 2005. It was their 5th studio album. 2 LP release, it's going to run you about $40. This is a 20th anniversary release. It's going to be on clear and red vinyl. I think one album is clear and the other one is red. This is the follow-up to their smash hit album Elephant that came out in 2003, which a lot of times for a band can be hard to follow up an album like that. But I think overall, I love Elephant. It's probably my favorite album from the White Stripes, but I think there are some songs on Get Behind Me Satan that I think are better than a lot of the songs off of Elephant. And that's why I don't have on vinyl, so I probably will grab a copy of that this week. Surprisingly, though, this album wasn't reissued until 2015, but it's been reissued several times since then. My thing is with these anniversary releases, if you're going to do a 20th anniversary release, and it's something that's been pressed several times over the last couple of years, I'd like to see them do something different to celebrate the anniversary of it. Toss on some extra material, whether it's, bonus tracks or demos, live material, something else to kind of distinguish it from the other releases that have come out previously. I love this album. Like I said, I don't have a copy of it. I probably will grab a copy of it this week. There's also the Manticore tapes by Motorhead getting released this week. So this is a new 3 LP. So there's a deluxe 3 LP version of this one. It's going to run you about $100. And then there is a 1 LP version that's going to run you about $28. But the Manticore tapes were something that was believed to be lost to time. These are all recordings that the band did in 1976 at Emerson, Lake and Palmer's legendary Manticore Studios. So this is all recorded about a year before their debut album came out. And a lot of the tracks that are on here would make it on their debut album. So these are basically just early versions of those songs. But 1976 was about a year after Lemmy left Hawkwind and formed Motorhead. So this is right at the beginning of the band. So you're basically hearing like the very earliest versions of these songs. And the difference between the 3 LP version and the 1 LP release is the 1 LP version is just the first album out of the 3 LPs, and then the second and third LP are just additional alternate versions of those songs. Looks like the 1 LP version is going to be available on black vinyl, and then the 3 LP version is going to be available on black or clear. So, like I said, it's one I'll definitely stream and check out this week. I'm definitely looking forward to checking that one out. Then you've also a new album from Lorde coming out. This is Virgin. It's her 4th studio album. There's a black version of this. There's also a Coke bottle clear version. It's going to run about $33. This is a follow-up to her 2021 album Solar Power, which was the topic of a lot of discussion when this album came out because of the way it was censored. So there's a lot of stores. I even saw a couple record stores that would put the sticker over the cover art on that album. To be honest, I think I only listened to the album once. I know it charted really well. It was her third straight album to hit the top 5 on the Billboard 200. It hit number 1 in New Zealand and in Australia. But the big difference with this album is this is the first time since her debut album that she hasn't worked with Jack Antonoff on it. She brought in Jimmy Stack to produce the album, and I'm not really familiar with any of his work, but he's worked with a bunch of, I think a lot of the biggest pop artists from the last several years he's worked with before. It's not generally my style of music, but it's another one I'll add to my list to stream and check out this week. The next release was a really important album and helped lay the foundation for what would become rap and hip-hop. So this is Baby Huey, the Baby Huey story, the living legend. It came out back in 1971. It was his debut and only studio album. It's going to run about $32. So this album is a blend of funk and soul and rock. And like I said, it would be the one of the albums that would form the foundation for what hip-hop would be. But it was an album that really went unnoticed for quite a long time. It wasn't until the 80s when this album started getting sampled, and at this point it's probably one of the most sampled albums in music history. And then once it started getting sampled more and more, the popularity of this album really grew. It was released a year after his death. I think he died, I think he was 26 years old when he died, so we never got anything else from his career. It is a really fascinating album to listen to. I think it's a very unique album also. It's something that might not be up everyone's alley, but it's one that, I at least highly recommend at least checking out and streaming it to once just to give it a listen. And then you've got the new album from Deep Blue Something coming out. This is Lunar Phase. It's their 5th studio album. It's going to be on translucent blue vinyl. It's going to run about $23. So this is the band's first full-length album since their self-titled album came out 24 years ago. There was an EP that they released in 2015, I think it was. That's the only thing that they've released in between. You might be thinking to yourself, Deep Blue Something sounds really familiar, and that's because they were one of the big one-hit wonder bands of the 90s. Breakfast at Tiffany's was a huge track. That song hit number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. I think it was the only single the band ever released to ever chart. To be honest, I thought that Home, which is the album that has Breakfast at Tiffany's on there, was the only album the band ever released. I didn't know that that was actually their second album, and they've released several albums since then. So not only will I have to stream this new album that comes out this week, I'll have to go back through and check out some of the older stuff also. There's a great jazz album that's getting released this week. This is Here's Lee Morgan by Lee Morgan. Came out back in 1960. This is part of the Craft Recordings original jazz classic series. It's going to run about $38. These are always mastered by Kevin Gray from the original analog tapes. They're pressed to RTI. They do a great job with these jazz releases. And it was with this album that, Lee Morgan, he was only 21 years old at the time, would start discovering his own sound, his own style. This is one of those great early 60s jazz albums, and one's been out of print for a really long time. I think the last time this was pressed was, I think it was 87 was the last time. That was a Japanese pressing. The last pressing from the U.S., I think, was 78. And if you want to get a copy of that one, you're going to spend $100 or more on that. But he's joined by a great lineup on this album. He's got Clifford Jordan, Wynton Kelly, Paul Chambers, Art Blakey. A great lineup. If you're getting into jazz music, it's definitely one worth checking out. And then you've also got the self-titled debut album from Marcy Play Around coming out. This was released back in 1997. It's going to be on yellow vinyl. This is a Capitol website or web store exclusive. It's going to run you about $30. This album was never available on vinyl until Record Store Day in 2017. And that RSD version was one LP, but it came with an extra 7-inch because it was cut at 45 RPM and they couldn't fit the last 2 songs on the album. So it tossed it on an extra 7-inch instead of doing 2 LPs with doing 3 sides of the 2 LPs, which probably would have been a better idea to do that. But so it was only available as that RSD release. Or later that year, the band was on the 20th anniversary tour, and they had a 1 LP, 33 RPM version that was available on that tour. So what's coming out this week is a reissue of the tour version. So it's just 1 LP at 33 RPM. I don't remember what color the tour version was, but I know the RSD version was yellow. So this is I think a reissue of kind of a blending of those 2 releases from 2017. Of course, Sex and Candy was the huge hit off of this album. The album would reach number 21 on the Billboard 200. It would sell over 1 million copies here in the U.S. It's an album I haven't listened to in a really long time. I think I do have a copy of it on CD. I remember it being a really good album and a much better album than just that one single on there. So it's one I already got on pre-order, so I'm looking forward to that one this week. There's also the new live album from Lynyrd Skynyrd coming out this week. This is celebrating 50 years live at the Ryman. So this was recorded back in 2022. It's going to run you about $30. This is recorded at the Ryman Theater in Nashville, all in celebration of the 50th anniversary of their debut album back in 1973. It ended up being a really special night because it was the last performance with Gary Rossington, who was the founding guitarist of the band, and he was the last surviving member of the original lineup. And that night they performed all their best known tracks. It was like a greatest hits night for the band. A bunch of great guest musicians showed up also. You got Jelly Roll on here, Brent Smith from Shinedown, John Osborne from the Osborne Brothers, Donnie Van Zant from 38 Special. There's a whole long list of really great musicians on there. I've never been a huge Lynyrd Skynyrd fan, especially after the plane crash. I think after that, the band, it really wasn't Lynyrd Skynyrd to me anymore. But, it's definitely one I'll stream and check out this week. And then the last album I got on my list, this is Thomas Dolby, Astronauts and Heretics. Came out back in 1992. It was his fourth studio album. It's got a pink and silver marble vinyl. It's got running about $38. This is a music on vinyl release. So it's limited, numbered to 1,000 copies. And these are all pressed in the Netherlands. So sometimes it takes a week or so extra to make it here to stores in the US. And the first time this album was ever reissued was a music on vinyl release from last year. And if you go look at that up on Discogs, I want to say it's like $150 to $200 to grab a copy of that one. But that was also really limited. I think they only did like 700 or 750 copies of it. But as for Astronauts and Heretics, this was his last album until 2011. And by 1992, grunge had really taken over the rock scene. So it's really no surprise that this album from an English new wave artist really went unnoticed. Something a lot of people might not know about this album is Eddie Van Halen actually shows up and plays lead guitar on 2 of the tracks on here. And I think how he ended up on this album was Eddie Van Halen had some issues or had some questions about music gear and was talking to Thomas Dolby about it, and he helped him out, so Eddie showed up to play guitar on his new album. Of course, Thomas Dolby is known for his 1982 hit single, She Blinded Me With Science, but if you go back through and listen to his other songs or his other albums, he does have a bunch of other great songs across his career. This album is probably not his best, but it's an album that I think if you're unfamiliar with Thomas Dolby, it's at least worth going back and streaming and checking out because, like I said, I think there is a couple of really good songs on here. Well, that's okay for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to grabbing this week. So as far as pre-orders go, I know I've got that Marcy Playground pre-ordered. I think it's the only one I've got pre-ordered this week. I'll probably grab that White Stripes album. I'll stream that new Bruce Springsteen album. Like I said, I might grab that the 2LP version. I probably should grab that Lee Morgan album and that Baby Huey album. I don't know. We'll see what I end up with this week. But let me know what you guys are looking forward to. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a little thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.